Let's quickly look ahead to our game ones for the second round tonight. Lakers Thunder. The biggest question here, John, how can the Lakers even push the Thunder in this series? We don't know that Luka Doncic is going to come back. It doesn't sound like he's going to come back at any point, at least early in this series. They've got Austin Reeves. LeBron James obviously was the best player in their first round series against Houston. The Thunder, Jalen Williams still questionable. How he's going to look out there, and but they're loaded, and they don't have those. It just felt like against Houston, there were so many little places that the Lakers could take advantage of, whether it was the coaching mismatch, which was an obvious one, or weak spots for them defensively, whether it was Reed Shepherd or Alperen Şengün, where LeBron was able to carve up the middle of the floor over and over again with pick and roll. That's just not going to be there against this Thunder team, obviously.
I don't think they can challenge them. You look at who challenged the Thunder last year. It was the Nuggets and it was the Pacers. Both of them had at least 4 ball handlers that they really trusted. For the Nuggets, Jokic, Murray, Gordon, and Westbrook they had last year. The Pacers, Nembhard, Nesmith, Halliburton, Mathurin to an extent, Siakam even. They had a lot of ball handling, right? You need a lot of ball handling against the Thunder because they're just going to trap anybody who's even a little bit weak at ball handling. Right now, I think the Lakers just have really 2. They just have LeBron and Reeves, who they're really going to trust ball handling a lot. The Thunder are going to be able to wear those guys out. This is obviously an extremely smart Lakers team. I would not be shocked if they were able to take one of these first 2 in Oklahoma and sort of start this, shockwave of narratives. But I just cannot see this series going even 6 games, frankly, without Luka. It doesn't sound like he's going to be able to return. With the hamstring stuff, I mean, it's just like, it's a hamstring. He's probably not going to play. It's not one of those things you can play through either. It's not like, oh, just throw him out there. He'll just be useless. Like it's not the type of stuff that Ant's doing. Ant wouldn't be out there if he had a hamstring injury. Right. So I just don't see it. Even without Jalen Williams. Right. The Thunder have such a swarming philosophy, and I just don't see it.
I mean, I guess if I was trying to find a way for the Lakers to make some sort of head in this game, in this series, it would be because Jalen Williams is out, the Thunder don't have a natural matchup for LeBron. And to your point, like we've also seen teams with like real threats at the big man position do some damage, whether it was Siakam or Jokic or something against this Thunder defense. The problem with it, and so I would try to kind of reorient LeBron more to where he was when Reeves and Luka were healthy, where he was kind of playing that sort of supporting role, power forward job, but obviously just doing it at a much higher usage. Could we just get it to him in the post, make sure that he's pushing Chet Holmgren around, maybe taking Isaiah Hartenstein off the dribble, whatever it might be? The problem with that is that who gets the ball to LeBron in those positions? Yeah. That's the issue. And maybe that gets back to your ball handling thing. Like, we saw them go with Luke Kennard against Houston. Maybe that's something that they try against Oklahoma City. Houston, they're a disruptive defense, similar to the Thunder also. And Kennard was able to find some success. Marcus Smart was able to find some success. But it's just like, first of all, that Rockets team just hates each other, and this Thunder team very much likes being around each other, and they're just doing everything at a much higher level. To me, it's really it feels like a pretty steep uphill climb, but. You got to try something, right? You got to go out there and try something if you're the Lakers. And to their credit, like nobody took them against Houston, and they were able to beat the Rockets and kind of make mincemeat out of them. So, I think JJ Redick is a really good dialed-in coach. He'll have some answers here in the first couple games. I'm with you. It would not shock me if they won one of these games on the road, because I think between JJ Redick and LeBron, like the IQ of that team is just really high, and maybe they just throw something at Mark Dagnall that they don't see coming, but ultimately, the Thunder are going to be too overwhelming. They just come at you in waves. Anything else before we move on?
I don't think so. I mean, just very curious about the absence of Jalen Williams, and for the Thunder haters of the world, which is quite a lot of people these days.
This is like the hater this is the hater bowl, right? Like if you're a hater, I don't know who you root for in this one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Lakers have plenty of haters too, but
sure,
the Thunder are just not. They're going to get. It's looking like they're going to get to the Western Conference Finals without much of a challenge. So that's tough for the haters. I sometimes count myself among them, but just standing up from the outside, it's like, dang, they're not going to be challenged until the Western Conference Finals.
We might have records broken for free throw attempts in a series, maybe per game, because I don't think the series is going to go very long, so maybe not the total number, but we might get like a per game free throw attempt thing. Tough for people on the East Coast like myself. Like this is gonna be like these games are going to end at like 2 a.m. I might have to watch the fourth quarters of these in the morning. Cavs Pistons I think is obviously more interesting. Where are you leaning with this matchup before we even get to some of the more the schematic X's and O's matchup stuff here?
I think Pistons in 7. I think that how much Cleveland struggled against Toronto's physical version, which was a very low skill physicality, right? Like they didn't have Ingram at the end of that series. They didn't have Quickly at all in the series. The Pistons have Cade Cunningham, right? Was way better at scoring and skill than anybody on Toronto was. And they're probably more physical. But I say in 7 because the Pistons are just not built to win easy. They're built for everything to be kind of hard for both their opponents and them. So I don't see them getting out of any series really easily. But I mean, the Cavs have just very consistently not met the battle with these more physical matchups, and I think the Pistons should be the favorites for that reason. But again, they don't win easy.
Pistons have home court, which ultimately might matter in this one. I think the Cavs have more advantages on paper than the Pistons do. But that's always been the Cavs thing. They've always sort of they've built their team to have more advantages on paper than you.
Right.
But they do tend to wilt with these physical type of matchups. And so I'm really torn on where I'm going to end up with this. My lean is Cavs in 6 or 7. I don't feel good about it at all. And I've been high on the Pistons all year long, so I might just switch it just for good vibes sake because I just enjoy this Pistons team a little bit more. But look, can the Pistons target James Harden is one of my biggest questions. They're going to try. They're going to try to pull him into these actions. Even when they can't get to the Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren pick and roll, they're willing to just bring, Asar Thompson or whoever has the weaker defender on him and bring him up into an action and then have Cade go to work on that guy on a switch. The Cavs are going to switch it. They're really willing to just switch stuff pretty easily. Like that's going to be an option. Can they target Harden? But I think the Cavs are also going to load up on that pick and roll overall. They do a really nice job of getting those bodies into the paint, nail help, paint help, all that stuff. The Cavs do a really good job of that defensively. They're going to load up on those pick and rolls. Do the Pistons have a second option? That to me is such a big story in this series is when the Cavs load up on that pick and roll, when Cade has to pass out of that pick and roll to Asar Thompson, to Isaiah Stewart, to Tobias Harris, like, do they have a second side attack? Do they have that second option? And do they have it consistently? Tobias Harris was awesome to finish that last series. I think he's gonna have to have an awesome series to beat Cleveland also. And then the other question I have is how does Detroit split up the duties in terms of defending Donovan Mitchell and James Harden? I think they'll start with Asar Thompson on Mitchell and then Cade Cunningham on Harden would be my guess. Because if Harden's going to try to get deep into the paint, I think Cade is a little bit better in that scenario. But my question would be like, do we want our best player on Harden who's going to try to try to drag him into foul trouble? Maybe they go with another option there. I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. And then ultimately the 3-point math in this series might end up, unfortunately, as much as I hate it, because it's not a fun way to analyze this sport, it's like, do the Cavs ultimately just make too many threes
right
for the Pistons to keep up with?
Totally possible. Yeah. Obviously the Magic showed that there's a formula there for just selling out on the Pistons pick and roll game and trying to just make them find other options and mostly seeing that they don't have them. Right. But I think that even like a guy like Dennis Jenkins, who probably would have played better against a less physical team. Right. I think he can probably feel a lot more free in this series. Those second options might have a little easier time against Cleveland's defense versus Orlando's. Yeah, I'm very curious to see this one too, because it does feel like a little bit of stylistic tug of war that like is harmonious with the stylistic tug of war of the whole league right now. It's like how physical are we going to get with this sport, versus how much does your level of overall skill still define who wins? So I kind of see it as crystallizing that sort of stylistic tug of war that the whole league is going through right now.
I'm really excited for this Cavs Pistons series. I think because of those two stylistic approaches, like we're in for, I think, a really interesting tug of war in this series that my guess would be kind of goes both ways, you know, in some of these games where it looks like the Cavs are going to have the advantage. It looks like the Pistons are going to have the advantage. And whichever team can kind of dictate the terms of engagement more than the other one, it feels like that team probably wins this series. But we're gonna move on from this. We're gonna take a look at the Celtics and a really pivotal offseason for them after what ultimately ended up being, I guess, the gap year we all expected. We're gonna talk about that, get to some of these coaching changes and front office changes all on the other side of the break.